wreaking revenge.
Were you present in the dream?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure it was me. There were moments when I wasn't aware of Derek and it seemed to be my hands that were doing things.
What kind of things?
Killing people.
The way that Derek was killing people.
I didn't see Derek killing anybody. I just know that's what he was doing. But the way he was with the dogs when he came home afterwards. They were the only thing that could calm him down. The only thing he looked forward to or had any interest in. And it seemed they had to be crazed into the bargain. I knew he was killing. By his eyes. They moved slowly and were narrow and small. The opposite wide open with wonder. His eyes showed something like anti-wonder. That's the best way I can describe it to you. Like a return from wonder. Eyes that had found too much wonder elsewhere. More than they'd been able to take in.
What people did you kill?
I told you. I'm not sure it was me in the dream. It's possible that I was there at those times. That I became him and that's why he wasn't, visible to me in those parts of the dream. I killed my mother. Mary, who was really my aunt. And all of her friends and our families. Found them all together in a room on the upper floor of a 4 or 5 story building. Like a hotel. They were having some kind of a gathering, a gloomy party where everyone sat around drinking soup with nothing to say. Like a pack of guilty convicts in a waiting room.
Guilty?
They all had the air of guilt about them, waiting for something to happen to them that wasn't going to be pleasant, but might come as a relief. So they weren't terrified, only gloomy with uncertainty. They were all there, my mother's friends. One of them, Aubrey, one who wanted to be a priest, was sitting there in drag. Her friends Maeve and Clem were there, all their children. My mother was sitting right behind Maeve, moving her head in sync with the others. Both heads only a few inches apart. My mother's head hiding behind the other. All the rest of them were scattered throughout the room. The room was all red, plush and black.
Was your father there?
You mean my Uncle Harry? No, he wasn't there. Or anyone connected with him. They all looked up when I entered. None of them registered surprise or much interest, certainly no fear. It was as if I wasn't who they were expecting. And although I could stay if I really wanted to, I wasn't particularly welcome. And some of them, the children, the younger adults especially, seemed to smirk at me, wanting to show me that they knew something. One of them flashed me her tip. The other ones ignored me. None of them looked worried, except my mother. From what I could see of her behind Maeve's big head, that my mother always looked worried, cowed. I was desolate among her own friends as if I was there. I went over and killed her first. Killed Maeve next, but it was important for me to kill my mother first and separately, to isolate her out. Because that's the very thing she always avoided in life, being separate, being a person of her own, a person who stood for something, somebody you could go to for comfort.
How did you kill them?
I shot them. First I asked them a question they couldn't answer, then I shot them, one by one.
What questions did you ask them?
Don't remember. I know they couldn't answer them.
Were they shot for failing to answer the question?
Yes and no.
Well, what does that mean?
I made it seem that way, but it wasn't how it really was. I was going to kill them whether they answered the question right or not. But I didn't tell them that. I offered them a little bit of false hope, test their humanity. As I expected, they hadn't the courage to reach for it. The rats that they are, they couldn't see anything in life except death waiting for them. They were always on their way to death. When I realised after entering the room, what I did was help them along the way to death.
How did killing them make you feel?
Tired. Tired and annoyed with myself for taking so long to do it. as well.
Stupid.
He felt stupid.
Omnipotence doesn't often go hand in hand with stupidity. Why do you think you felt stupid?
Well, I don't know why.
Could it be that you felt stupid for not being able to design a more ingenious way of hurting them? That the way you chose might have been playing into their hands and granting their wishes above and beyond your own?
Yeah, maybe. It was like shooting diseased rabbits. It wasn't as gratifying as taking their lives should have been. Didn't even care that their own family members were being killed, or that their turn was coming up next. Just waited like school children.
Like school children?
That's what they reminded me of when I produced the gun. Sitting there in their seats, each with their own separate table, except my mother, of course, sat behind Maeve. All sitting there in silence with their eyes looking up at the teacher who was going to do exactly what pleased him. And they were going to accept it from him.
How did the dream end?
After they were dead, I went back to Africa to find Derek. I had to talk to him. I had to tell him that I had found somebody exactly like him. Somebody who went out and avenged himself on people. I was excited by the prospect of telling him, of coming to such a perfect understanding with another person, of being able to say without a doubt I knew another person's life, why they did the things they did, lived the way that they lived. Because they had to live that way. Because there was no other way for them to live. I wanted to sympathise with him.
Did you find him?
Oh yeah, I found him.
What was his reaction to what you told him?
He didn't seem to care. He just played with his dogs until it was time for him to go back to Ireland again.
And how did that make you feel?
Like trying again. Like having another crack at him. In another way that was more gratifying. I felt like I had botched the last massacre. I wanted another chance to do it right.
How would you do it if you had another chance?
Don't know. More slowly. More playfully. We'd give them a little pleasure along the way to trick more truth out of them. Stroke of a feather on the cheek. Syringe of honey into their mouth. Tweak of the nipple. Show them a photo of their parents. Give them a range of false options to distract their thoughts. I don't know. So many things come to mind all of a sudden. All the things I could have tried instead of wasting the opportunity to ask them a stupid question.
How do you think you would profit from such a killing?
Get to know the victims finally. Or to extract the truth about them. The filthy truth from their hearts. To find out what's really there. Or confirm all my suspicions. I'd give them no more places to hide and deceive me from. I'd have a chance to discover secrets about them that even they don't know. Show them up, at last, what they truly are. Be satisfied that I had witnessed before my own eyes what my instincts had tormented me with all along, but which I'd no proof. I could prove they were no good, find out why they were no good, and then finish them off. So they'd be no good no longer. Something we could all agree on. Killing my mother's friends and their families had proved nothing really. Nothing that I didn't have proof enough of already. It didn't bring out those terrible human secrets. Humiliated with hearts contents that were left intact, undisturbed, unhumiliated. I gave each of them a coup de grace, an honourable execution they didn't deserve. It's probably why Derek took no notice of him. This person I had found for him, that was supposed to be so like Derek, wasn't like him at all. Not in Derek's judgment, only in an outsider's judgment. An outsider who judged all killing and all killers to be the same. It's people who were just taking revenge. But they weren't all the same. Some of them were artists. The rest are just imitators. Derek killed for self-knowledge, about life and death. The way some people write books or make films. Like him, he got directly to for the knowledge he needed every time, only much faster. He came straight for the knowledge of fear. When it comes down to it, all that matters is fear. All knowledge that matters is knowledge about fear. Derek knew that better than anyone else. He was a pure artist of fear.
End of scene. Act 2, Scene 1. 20 years earlier. A winter's night, a field with a ditch. There's a milk carton and charred objects and ashes alongside the bag, in which lies a young man of 14, ranting in his sleep.
I wasn't. I swear I wasn't. I swear to you on my life I wasn't. I'm telling you, I wasn't. I swear to you, I wasn't. No, please.
The bag is kicked violently, and he sits up. Enter Harry, a man of 45, with a shotgun and a large hand lamp. With him is his nephew David, about 7 years old. David is holding a dead rabbit by the hind legs. They move stealthily and stop. Harry pans the field 3 or 4 times, with the shotgun levelled against the lamp handle. The lamp stops at a point, and Harry leans down and puts a hand on David's arm, and David looks at where the lamp is aimed.
I see it!
Harry raises the gun to his shoulder while keeping the beam fixed on the spot. High up on the stage, the shrouded face of an elderly man appears.
He is crying out for the touch of a human being.
Harry takes aim and fires. The barrel kicks up, and the beam along with it. The young man screams.
He will enter a softer world.
Harry fumbles with the lamp to shine it at the source of the unknown voice. He extends an arm and uses it to sweep David behind him. Harry looks for a while, until he sees the young man.
You want to smoke? Here.
He produces a box and a lighter from his pocket and holds it out. The young man slowly unfurls.
Here. Take it.
David appears and the young man sees him, unfurls more, sees the rabbit and relaxes. The young man reaches out his hand. Harry steps in closer and bends a knee, almost a genuflection, and transfers the cigarettes and the matches.
That's a nice fat one you got.
Yeah, it was a headshot.
Make a nice soup, so.
Sure will.
All 3 remain together in silence. The young man lights a cigarette.
Go on, look.
Look, thanks.
Harry and David go on their way. Vincent the liar disappears. End of scene. Scene 2. The following afternoon. Harry is moving erratically outside his house. The lower half of the house has boarded up windows. The wall and boards are covered in graffiti. Damo, Micah, Bullet, Up the Ra, Fuck the Queen. A picture of 2 V's, interlocked and genitalia between them. The upper level has 1 window. Harry is listening carefully for something, walking to and fro in front of his own house, straining to hear. Pavarotti comes faintly from the open window of the house, and it arouses a chirping bird somewhere.
Turn it up a bit, Mary, will you?
Pavarotti gets louder. The birds sing more strongly. Suddenly, he sees something in the distance. He goes back inside. Presently, the upper window is closed. A gang of youths between 15 and 18 saunter past. One of them is a girl called Lusty. Hago, the gang leader, has a dead sparrowhawk in a clear plastic bag. Each of the other holds something in their hand, a stick, a car aerial, a cosh, or a bridle for a horse. As they walk past the house, the upper window reopens, and Harry extends a shotgun, aiming at the head of Hago. Hago doesn't stop or even look up, but continues sauntering slowly on, the barrel of the gun following him. Hago stops without looking up at Harry. The group gathers around him, sitting on the ground outside the house. Some of them start picking at the ground. Hago goes to the wall of the house, directly beneath Harry, and bends down and puts a finger in a crack. we hear the urgent sound of chicks chirping. The gang members glance up at Harry and laugh.
Blue tits it looks like. Where's the mother, I wonder? There she is over there, look. Nothing to worry about.
Harry continues staring down at them. He listens with horrible fascination. There seems to be an exciting new smell in the air. The smell of linseed oil impregnated combat fatigues. Hago raises the bag with the dead sparrowhawk and waves it around. He laughs insolently. The rest of the gang join in the laughter as Harry retreats inside the house. The gang prepares a fire.
Where's the sugar?
Salty.
Where's the sugar?
Salty has it.
The only way to light wet wood. Told you.
They search the ground, digging up little stones and bottle caps. From inside the house, we hear the sound of hammering on the C key of a piano, 3 octaves above middle C, for 10 beats, and then the C 1 octave lower is hit 10 times. This is followed by Mary playing Un Sospiro by Franz Liszt.
Mary, stop playing that fucking piano!
The piano playing stops. All but Hago look up at the window, and it is closed. End of scene. Scene 3. Some other night. Joanne, a 14-year-old waif and beauty, is at the corner leaning against a fence of galvanized iron posts with triple spikes on top. An orange electrical light illuminates the stage. She has been running and is catching her breath against the fence. She is scared and her eyes are wild. She is wearing only a blouse and the buttons are done up wrong. The collar is torn. In the distance, the sound of a 2-stroke motorcycle grows louder and then fades out. On the ground are empty beer bottles, coloured glass, and crushed cans. There is dog shit, condoms, pieces of clothing, including a pair of nylons. High up, Vincent the liar appears.
She's mad. She knows that, of course, doesn't she? She's mad. She's quite mad. She's mad and alone, quite alone. She knows that too, of course, doesn't she? She has nowhere to go. Isn't that true? Our friends, Maeve and Clem, our friends have a place. Our friends, 6 or 7 years. Last year, 3 weeks ago, our friends. Actually, January the 12th, our friends. We came back from visiting our friends, Maeve and Clem and I. Oh, we'd had enough of our friends by then.
Harry and David come out of the house, wrapped up against the cold on their way to go hunting. Seeing Joanne, Harry regards the young woman with hostility, but recognition. Joanne looks ashamed. None of them speak. Harry and David walk on without delaying.
Now let her if she wants to, she deserves what's coming to her. She made her bed, now she can lie in it. She never really saw them as her own kids in the first place. That's why she kept running out the door and leaving them with everybody who would take them. The kids were like the husband, a smoke screen. They all thought he was the source of the trouble. Even the kids, they all believed it. He gave her an excuse to run all over the place. She was always out working or visiting her friends. He gave her something to talk about when she visited her friends for a sandwich or a cup of tea. She wanted the kids if they were useful. The only way they could get near her was if they were useful. When the eldest boy, her real son, got his first job in the dairies, she made sure she was home to make his chips and his liver with 2 eggs on top. Sometimes a sirloin steak on payday if there was one going cheap about a turn. She'd let him take it in front of the television with his feet up on the poof. Made him feel like a prince. The boots from the dairies all splashed with stale cream still on him, rolling his ankles in ecstasy, sucking the soft fat out of the rind between his fingers. Oh, and he'd hand over his paycheck.
Joanne leans back on the fence, her hands clinging to it, not knowing where to go next.
When what you can see around you has been left long enough, the same way it becomes reality. All that occurs in the meantime is unreal. Sooner or later, all reality is replaced by the unreal, and then we start all over again, waiting for it to become reality once more. Looking back, nothing in the past was real. Reality has only a temporary place in periods of the present, and usually those periods are dull. It is better to have unreality, and so that is what we keep having.
Vincent the liar disappears. End of scene. Act 3, Scene 1. The yard of a dairy factory at lunchtime. Men in overalls are leaning against, or sitting on the wall, or on the ground, eating sandwiches out of silver foil. In front of them, 2 apprentice boys, aged 14, are fighting. One of them is Harry Jr., the son of Harry. The men are laughing and urging them on. After a while, Harry Jr. gets the other boy on the ground and straddles him.
Make him cry! Everybody else can make him cry! Not afraid of him, are you? Hit him in the head, Jen! Give him a loaf in the head!
Go on, give him a loaf, finish him off!
What are you waiting for?
Oh, you're trying to kiss him, or
Harry Jr. is dying of shame. He looks down at the other boy, filled with a cold feeling of fear. The other boy spits in his face and escapes as Harry Jr. is wiping it off. The end of the lunch bell sounds. The other boy runs amongst the men and looks back at Harry and starts laughing. One of the men raises a fist at the boy, who shies away playfully.
Go on, you useless little fuck!
Some welder, he'll make Paget. You'll have your work cut out there. He'll be no more use than his father, Harry the handyman.
Harry the handyman! He just lives round the corner.
They both look at Harry Jr. and laugh, and then walk off. One of the workmen approaches Harry Jr. Vincent the liar appears.
Go home and tell your father. That's the only way to get this stopped.
Can't tell him.
Why can't you tell him?
Because he's too sick. He's in hospital.
You're afraid he might make